I would be my favorite book as well. What do you usually write? Lately, I've been writing a lot of non-fiction in the form of essays and also a memoir. But overall, in my life, what I've written the most by far is poetry. By a lot, 800%, like a lot. Way more than I have, like probably a couple of 100 pages written in non-fiction, but I have thousands of pages written in poetry. Unfortunately, most of the poetry I have written is not in English. What's something you'll never write? The Constitution. I don't know, maybe a manual for vacuum cleaners. That's something I might never write, maybe, who knows. What's your goal for starting an Authortube channel? Well, I don't have any goal because I don't really know if there is such a thing as Authortube. I haven't seen any sort of a community. But I guess my goal, if there were other people interested in talking about writing rather than reading, would be to start a conversation on a literary conversation about like texts, like reading texts, maybe analyzing them, seeing what works and what doesn't work, and perhaps also sharing short pieces of my writing with other people who also write and reading theirs and exchanging ideas and insights. Yeah, that would be nice. I got lost. What content do you bring to the Authortube table? So for the moment, nothing. Maybe I will read a poem I write every now and then. Actually, I think I am. So I've been reading The Master and Man by Tolstoy, and I was reading this inside of George Saunders' A Swimming Upon in the Rain, which is about to become my favorite book on writing, period. Before it was Zen in the Art of Writing by Ray Bradbury, but I think this one is overtaking. And in that book, he proposes an exercise after reading Master and Man, which is to rewrite the last chapter of Master and Man from Tolstoy. And I did. And I think I'm gonna do a read aloud. I think I'm gonna do a read aloud of Master and Man, and then read the last chapter of Tolstoy, and then read my complete, like, entire modification of that chapter. I have made a whole new, like, the whole story changes with what I did there, and I'm very proud of how it ends. I think I can say that I improved a Tolstoy short story, in my opinion, and I think that deserves some sharing. Yeah, for sure. Obviously, obviously I would say that. But yeah, it's the way I feel. It's actually, I believe that I wrote a much better ending chapter than the one that he wrote. But the story is amazing, and it's only with the grounds of an amazing background that one can get to write a nice ending on top of that. But yeah, I think that's an interesting exercise. I think I might start doing that more often. To just like read short stories and then rewrite the parts that I think don't work so well. What else? What's your biggest writing struggle? That would be English. That would be language. English is not my first language. Spanish, and I've written in Spanish and Galician for most of my life, mainly Spanish. But I don't see any future to a writing life in the Spanish language. Also, there is not as many readers, and those are two reasons why I've chosen to focus on writing in English, which comes with a huge struggle because I've taught myself English in the last few years. I did not learn English at school. And that obviously limits my writing capacity, but also I think improves my style a little bit, because with Spanish I know the language so well that I would allow myself to be a bit redundant and maybe pedantic and overuse stylistic resources. While in English I don't have that capacity, so everything is much more plain and clear, which allows me to focus more on the plot. So it is a struggle, but I see the good side of it. And obviously I'm saying that I write mainly in English. That doesn't mean I'm never going to write in Spanish again. But I think if I ever want to publish a book and maybe publish books for a living, which would be interesting and definitely an ideal case scenario for me someday, far away. I don't have the time or the life to sit down and just write for the moment. But yeah, that would be in English. That cannot happen in Spain. It's often the case that good writers of any discipline will go to France or England to publish their books, and I'm not the exception. What's your best writing skill? So, since I said I'm gonna stick to English language because that's what's relevant for this video, it would be different in Spanish, but I think that the thing that saves me from most of my struggles is that I just have an endless imagination. I never run out of ideas, so the story is always going somewhere. That is never a problem. As a matter of fact, the problem, that's also a struggle because I have to stop myself. But writer's block, I don't know what that means. I genuinely don't know what that means. That doesn't mean that what I write is always good, but it's probably always original, in the sense that like my imagination takes me to places that are far from reach. Yeah, that'd be one thing. And yeah, another writing struggle is dialogues. I've been trying to write a play for a while, and it's super hard. I think it's the hardest thing I've tried to write so far. It's a play, in the sense that like I can write a play, but I'm never happy with it. It's normally when I write something, I'm happy about it. But every dialogue I have written so far in a play, so without narrator, it just doesn't work. I don't like it. So that's another struggle. And lastly, what is your question for what is your biggest question for Authortube? Again, I don't know. Is anybody out there? Yeah, I think that's my question. What you guys are doing? What's up with Authortube? What kind of things are going on this small community that I hope exists and does things? And that will be all. Thank you for watching, and please let me know in the comments.